don't know what we need to do, then the answer is, well, then okay, I respect that, and so I understand that you're not going to make counteroffer. That's fine. Okay, but again, you don't have to say anything. Okay, if you don't tell them anything, other than to reassure them that you're not going to a direct competitor with all of their customer files, like I said, it will absolutely chill their interest in countering your offer, whatever it might be.
Yeah. And just be clear, we mentioned earlier, resigning with the expectation of getting a counteroffer as a gambit is not a good idea.
If anyone thinks that anything in this podcast can be construed as I'm part of my strategy is to resign in order to get a counteroffer, they are smoking something, Mike. That is absolutely one of the dumbest things managers can do in terms of careers.
Yeah, and I hesitate even suggesting that anybody would think that, but the fact is I've seen people do it. So
yes.
So sorry, I didn't mean to offend anybody.
No, it's great. It's a great point. It is mind-bogglingly dumb. Not only if you did it, and I went through the process, and I found out later that it was a ploy, I'd fire you.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that is abusing corporate resources for personal gain.
I would go. There's too many variations to give a definitive answer, but even talking about counteroffers and accepting counteroffers is. I rebel at. I'm a firm believer that, once I resign, I don't care what they offer me. I'm not staying.
Yeah,
so.
They just don't work. Yeah, they could be a tactical ploy, but they don't work.
Yeah.
If you find yourself accepting a counteroffer for $5,000 more than what you're making now, you should have never been in the conversation to begin with. But that's a whole nother set of casts, okay?
Exactly.
Another thing that's going to happen is you're going to get disenfranchised really quickly. You're a persona non grata right now. Things are going to be different. You're going to be ostracized. Friends may get quiet around you while you're at work. You may be disinvited from meetings and inadvertently show up at a meeting with it, which then everyone says, I'm sorry, you really can't be here.
Don't get angry about that.
Don't let your feeling get through. That's totally normal, right? Essentially, if you push back on that, you're asking your friends to put your friendship over their mortgage. That's not a fair trade to ask people to make.
No, just don't get your feelings. People get their feelings hurt. Don't do it.
Yeah, the whole construct of all your friendships at work are a function of the organization. The organization rules, and your role as a manager is a function of organizational power. It's a construct of the organization. You're now no longer completely a part of the organization. You are going to be treated like not a part of the organization. And that's not personal. It is the smart professional way to behave.
Right. And then leads it to our next one, which is great about the 6-week process, because now you spent 2 weeks preparing. You're giving your boss 4 weeks notice, and so now you just kick back and relax. Collect your check for the next 30 days. Everything's good.
I love
Lots of lunch. You've arranged all your lunches. Life is good.
Right. Come in late, go home early, piece of cake. Of course not. What the professional does is work hard. I'm not talking about hard, long hours. I'm talking about 8 to 5, hard. You meet twice a week with your directs, talk about their futures, talk about recommendations you have, walk them through their review in detail. Even if it takes 2 or 3 hours, that's fine. Meet with everybody you need to meet with. Take your designated successor, whomever that might be, to all the meetings. Let them speak for you, but then at the end of the meeting, debrief them and tell them what you've done differently. Don't delay. Don't expect to train them suddenly in a week or 2 or 3. That's not going to happen. Now, you may be precluded from doing this. You may be shunted somehow. But generally we find if that happens, it's a function of time, Mike, rather than bosses actually saying, oh, don't talk to anybody. If they would do that, what they'll do is they'll just ask you to leave. So if you're able to stick around, you should be engaged at work.
Right, and keep your boss informed what you're doing. Don't all of a sudden have all these meetings and do some abnormal behavior without letting your boss know what you're doing. Just be very public and very, very upfront with your bosses to what you're doing. They'll appreciate it. But
exactly.
if you keep it hidden, you somehow just put yourself in their position. They don't know what you're talking about with these folks, and that you could be recruiting as far as they know. So just be upfront with your boss and let them know what you're doing.
Yes. And then be prepared to be overruled at a moment's notice because you've lost your status.
Yep.
And don't expect to get into a toe-to-toe with another manager because that ain't going to work. You've lost that credibility.
Right.
By the same token, you want to work hard and you want to go home at 5 o'clock. Because what's going to happen is you're going to go to your new work. First of all, you're going to move hypothetically, or you're going to move. There's going to be logistical considerations around your home and periods of time that you're commuting or moving and so on. And your family is going to be stressed in the first few weeks or months that you're in a new job. And then you stress them the last month of your new job. You might as well admit my family comes second, which is what we don't want. And Manager Jewell is very clear about that. Your family should come first. Anytime you spend at the office after 5, Mike, will be presumed to be espionage.
Well, you're kidding me.
Yep, that's what people think. Oh, copying files, are we? Why you get your feet up on the desk? Why don't you just go home? Well, I'm just kind of waiting for it to quiet. Oh my gosh. Watch that director say, look, maybe you ought not to stick around here anymore. Because then the director will go back to her office and wait for you to go home.
Right. And there's a reason why they think this way is because I know people who've done it.
Yeah, they've actually experienced it, and so they've learned from their mistakes. Sad as it sounds. Yes. So go home at 5. It's okay. You don't owe them your life. And more time at home during a time of stress is a good thing. Okay. We'll just touch on this briefly. We have a whole cast about benefits and so on. And I know that some of our small company listeners might be a little bit hesitant about this, but we also have a lot of big company listeners and benefits are an issue. But for now, make an appointment with somebody in HR. Have their phone number in your personal cell phone, the one that you take, not the work phone. So if you get rushed out, you can leave them a message as you're leaving the building about meeting with them at a later point, even if it's not in the building. And if you get less than a complete answer about COBRA and about 401k and all those kind of things, which they should be quite knowledgeable about, or they should know who you should talk to. If you get less than a great answer, call their boss. They're not going to be terribly responsive, not because they're bad people, because they're busy. And if that takes a week and then it takes another week to meet somebody else, you may be pushing right up against your 4-week window. Or if something comes up and the rug gets pulled out from underneath you after 2 weeks, even if you're doing a great job in terms of the transition, then you want to have this done pretty early on.
Good. Okay. Then while you're up there talking to the benefits person who's up there by HR,
right?
You go up, have your exit interview, and spill the beans.
you're in a very expansive mood today, Mike.
Yeah,
no,
I guess.
Don't say a thing. Mum's the word. Shut up. Period. You're not the only person that's ever been exit interviewed who's going to be taken seriously. Whatever you say may very well and probably will come back to haunt you. It is not unprofessional to be quiet because these comments made in exit interviews are rarely treated as professionally as they should be on HR's end. And the likelihood of you making a difference is not great enough to justify the risk to you and your family. A couple of comments will be excerpted and will be emailed to people out of context, and it will be perceived that that's what you said rather than a half an hour of this place is great. And since you're probing 5, 6, 7 times, Mr. HR person, I will admit that at times things move a little slow. And what the manager hears is, yeah, he didn't like the fact that things move slow. Right. And you will get strung up for that misunderstanding while you were doing your level best. Don't go back to our fundamental point. Don't talk negatively about anyone at any time, ever. Period.
Yep. And then since your exit interview will be very short, you have time for working on relationships.
Yep. And that means, remember those lunches we had you set up? Without telling people why? Now they know why, and they're on your calendar, and they will keep them. Have lunch every day with somebody you want to stay in touch with after you leave.
Oh, yeah. After they found out you've resigned, lunch with you will be an important commodity.
Exactly. They want to know where you're going. They want to know what kind of opportunities are there, and you want to stay in touch with them, and you want to exchange information on that new personal cell phone. And if you get a good one and they can beam it to you, so much the better. Worst case, you're going to get their business card. And this is a good backup to those of you who feel uncomfortable about taking contact information in terms of email addresses and work phone numbers out of a corporate database.
Good.
And it occurs to me, Mike, we could wrap up this cast with a list of all of the things we just talked about, and I think that would take another half an hour.
Yeah, we've covered a lot.
So let's just agree that there are 3 key phases, and that is preparation, and then delivery, and then interim actions. And again, those of you who are premium subscribers, it'll be available in more detail. But this is it's something that can be done very, very well, and the process of going through it will prove to everyone you're a professional. And again, you want to treat people well, because who knows when you'll come back, or when you'll want to hire them, or when they'll want to hire you when they move forward in their career somewhere else.
Good. Well, who would have ever guessed? I would have never guessed, a year ago that we'd be able to talk for as long as we have on resigning. But I'm always surprised. Not that I think that we spent too much time on it. I think it's just there's obviously a lot of detail you've thought through here, and this is good stuff.
It's taken me years. It's taken me years to build all these up. I learned, and then I'd add a thing, and then I'd take a thing out, and I'll tell you, Mike, this is why we're so excited about our first year and year 2 coming up, because there's a lot that people don't know about being a professional manager. And the more you know, the better it helps you, the better it helps your organization. And for us, most importantly, the better it helps your team. A team who gets treated like this by a resigning manager will think, wow, I want to follow her around. It will be easy for you to recruit for the rest of your career, and the easier it is for you to recruit, the easier it is for you to produce better results, and that's a virtuous cycle, while other people are dealing with a vicious cycle. It's a competitive advantage, and it's, like we say, professional. It's the right thing to do.
Good enough. All right, my friend. Thank you once again for sharing.
Okay.
All right, man. We'll see you later. All right. There you go. How to resign in a professional manner. Pretty straightforward. Distinguish yourself as a true professional by using this process instead of just flying out the door and leaving your boss to clean up the mess. Thanks to all of you who continue to vote for us in the podcast awards. If you hadn't done so already, be sure to go over there and vote for your favorite podcast, even if it's not Manager Tools. Thanks again, everyone. Until next time, so long.